Well, welcome. So has everybody had a chance to, first of all, I want to say this is the meeting of the Historical Commission on May 5th, 2025. And this meeting is being recorded by DCHT, is that right?
DCTV.
DCTV, sorry about that. And have folks on the commission had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, good. And can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
There are 3 months' worth?
Well, I only have 1 month from,
That was last
I
month.
think it was last month we had all 3 months
okay,
approved.
that's what I had looked at from Michelle, sorry.
No, that's right, this is just the most recent one. And we had one of which will come back, and I understand the confusion on it, because I get it too. But anyway, can I get a second on that motion?
Second?
Okay, great. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, great. That motion is approved to approve the minutes from April 7th. And we're taking a look at May
And I
5th.
think I need to recuse myself because I wasn't in attendance to that meeting,
That's a
so I
good,
can't
that's a
vote.
good, from voting on this?
Yes.
Okay,
Because I
okay.
wasn't there.
Okay. Let's do it again then. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the 7th of May? I'm sorry, of April?
Move again?
I can't approve my own minutes, right? Can I? No.
Oh, I was just saying if Phil was going to move again to approve the meeting minutes.
All right, move the minutes to the 7th.
Great.
Second.
All in favor? Great. That's passed. Thank you, Sue. We said the meeting be recorded. Is Peter here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Peter, I've met you before. It's nice to see you. I'm Robert. Please, go ahead and stand up and talk to us.
I think I know most of you, but Peter Chase, Director of Media for Dartmouth Community Television. So we're located in 247 Russell's Mill Road, which is the, referred to as the Old Town Hall. For this year, we're applying for some CPC funding. I think we're doing $25,000 for a study on the building. So as you can see, here's a kind of an old picture of it. The Old Town Hall is listed on as DAR.181 on the MACRIS website. And I got all this information from it. It was constructed in 1893, I'm sorry. Architectural style is shingle style. Significance is the architecture and politics government was listed underneath there. Building material is wood shingles, granite foundation. It was town hall until about 1926, according to that record, and then between 1926 and 2009, it was multiple different things, police station, town office building space, community function hall, parks and recreation had some space in there. And since 2009, it's been our home. So since we started in 2009, we added some interior walls and ceilings in the place. We replaced the doors and windows with the same like styles that were there before. And then we replaced the roof, repointed and rebricked some of the chimney back in 2009. We updated all the electrical and HVAC system inside the building. We remediated asbestos in 2017. We also replaced some gutters on the building in 2019. And we did do a existing studies condition back in 2016, which basically outlined some of the asbestos and the gutter problems that we were having with water in the building. So kind of brings us up to what our CPC funding was for. We're looking to procure a consultant to develop bid documents for the remaining action items from 2016 report, and then also to confirm what we have going on now, if there's anything new. So the project overview is they're going to review the 2016 existing conditions. They're going to identify if there's anything else that needs to be done or what we've already done off that 2016 report. We've already checked off a lot of the interior stuff. We haven't really touched much of the exterior except for the roof and the windows earlier. Like I said,
Excuse me, son. When you say, you mentioned several times, we've done this, this is with prior CPC grants?
No, this was all funding
guys.
from cable revenue, yeah,
Gotcha.
from our budget.
Okay.
So we didn't use CPC funding for all the interior stuff because it wasn't historical. So now, when we're on the exterior of the building, that's why we're looking to use CPC funds for it, is because we're trying to keep the building on the outside looking as historical as
Excellent, yeah.
it is. So part of the project will also be, like I said before, conduct inspections of the building to determine if some of the problems before have deteriorated or if there's anything new. The project overview will also provide a cost estimate for construction, along with contingencies. It'll develop 100% design plans for us to go out to bid, along with bid documents, so we can move the project forward. And one thing that the CPC requires is that all recommended improvements will comply with the Department of Interior standards. So that was a big point that CPC made to us. The timeline for this project is we hope to, by the end of the year, have a completed study. Hope to go to CPC and town meeting in spring of next year to fund the repairs. And then I just have a couple shots of the, still photographs of the building now. You can, if you look closely, you can see, a bunch of the shingles are very low to the ground at places. It kind of meets the grade a lot, which is one issue. There's another picture of it kind of meeting the grade. And then this is a side of the building where you can see there's a bunch of shingles missing. And that is, from afar, you're looking at the building, you don't realize how many are missing, but when you get up close and start looking, there are a lot of shingles that are just missing. And then even the shingles that are left over, there's a lot that are just paper thin. So that's basically the work that we're looking to have done is the reshingling and any kind of foundation work that needs to be completed to shore up the outside of the building. Because, like I said, the majority of the inside of the building, we've already kind of renovated and taken care of.
Okay.
So CPC did recommend that we come to you guys to let you know about it. And then at some point, when we get into the design work and with the consultant, then we'll probably be more in touch with you to consult you on the style and make sure that we stay within the frameworks of the Department of Interior, and then also what the Historical Commission would like to see too on that building, because we do think it's a very historical looking building, and it would be nice to try to keep it looking the way it is and preserve it for the long term.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. Any questions?
No, just comment that the money is coming out of the historic line from the CPC.
Correct,
Right.
yeah, yes, and then I think it's $25,000 because it was the mini grant for the CPC that we applied for, so I think the projected cost of the study is just under 30, it was like 29 and change, so we're gonna put in the other 4,000 and change out of our revenue, and 25,000 of it is gonna come from a CPC grant, as long as it's approved at town meeting in June.
You may have mentioned earlier, but who owns the building?
So the town of Dartmouth owns the building.
Right.
I mean, we're a town department, so, I think it's under the purview of the select board. It's one big lot. It's also has the police station, the tower, and the area in the back. That's all one gigantic lot there, so.
Okay.
Do you already have a consultant?
So, we have a number from a consultant. It's, Brewster Thornton, I think, that's been doing a lot of work in town.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is a number that we're working off of. Whether that consultant is the final person, we have to figure out how we have to bid it out or follow those laws. My understanding is if it stays under 30,000, we don't have to bid out the project. We can just assign it to somebody. And so, but we'll cross that bridge once it comes.
Any other questions?
Are you gonna keep the same design on the outside, like, or are you gonna change it a little bit, or make it a little more?
No, I mean, we're totally up to whatever the consultant slash, this committee, we're looking for your input to. We want to preserve it as best, and keep it original. So if the best way to go about it is to keep the wood shingles, then we're fine with that. If somebody thinks that there's another, siding or something that you can put on the outside that would preserve it better, but keep the historical look, we're open to suggestions. We're fine with either way. Like I said, we're looking to preserve it to look like it is now. So we're not looking to change a design or change the outlook of it.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that, Peter. Can I get a motion on this to approve or disapprove?
What are we approving?
Oh, pardon me, excuse me. What we'd be voting on now is the plan to, is it just issue support?
Yeah, I would say support it. Yeah, if you support the
A letter?
project as it is now, for town meeting, that would be great. And you can send that to the CPC to let them know. It wasn't contingent. I think they were more worried about the next step.
Yeah.
And so they just wanted you to be apprised of it. They said, at some point, you'll have to get Historical Commission's approval because we are looking for historical funds from CPC.
Right.
But I don't feel like they needed it for this part of it. I think they were more concerned about the next part, but.
Okay,
if
so
you-
maybe a letter of support for the second phase, once this is approved or
Yeah,
should be approved,
yeah.
and you move on,
Yeah.
okay? Well, great, this is just a heads up, and so
Right.
I greatly appreciate you coming in and talking
Yeah.
us through it.
All right.
Thanks.
According to our guidelines for the meeting protocol, the building is a historic site, so who's going to award the approval for the work to be done or the report of how you're going to do that? Because
So I think that when, after they're granted money by the CPC to pursue the study, and they have the study in hand, if they or we determine that more than 25% of one side of the building is going to be affected by this work, then they'll fill out an application for historical permission, and we'll go ahead and go through the process then.
But
We'll
if
have to do
it's-
that now.
But if it's more than $200,000, or who does that go before the CPC anyway?
It really is, it's too early at the stage. Right now, they're just asking for funds to have a study done.
Okay.
So we really don't know. the
Now,
ins
is
and outs
there
of it all yet.
language for that? Because it's not, there's only, I'll make a motion to approve the demolition, but there's no demolition.
There's no demolition, yeah, no, none at all.
Yeah, this was just really a heads up to let you know it was on town meetings warrant for June. And then also, it was something that the CPC asked that we loop you guys in with and let you know that it was coming and that, like I said, come maybe October, November this year, once the study kind of gets rolling and the suggestions start coming back from the consultant, we can bring you back in and, do a meeting in front of you and show you what we're suggesting for the building.
We
at that
don't know
point.
who the consultant is, so basically we should have a letter or something recommending that it goes before the select board and.
He's not asking us for that yet. He's just giving us a heads up that he's gonna
Okay.
go to the CPC for money to get a study done.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're good.
Great.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
Peter, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Okay. So do we have, it's Jake? There's Jake, okay, good. Very well, thanks. And so, this is for the, we're talking about the HDPR 25-7, 257 Jordan Road, and also Barney's Troy? No, totally separate. It is.
They're separate lots.
Separate lots, okay.
We put a little presentation together.
Sure, okay. And I understand you've seen the planning commission already, is that right?
We were executive.
Okay, right. So you're traveling out from Colorado, is that right? Good, welcome. And, yeah, please, we'd like to see it. Thanks.
Justin, you want to get your computer? I'm Justin.
Hi, Justin. Yeah.
Justin Roach. We're twins.
You're twins. Okay, that's great.
I just need an HDMI cord. Looks like there's one right here.
Yeah, go ahead and grab
Be
it.
pretty good.
Peter, is that yours?
No.
Oh, okay.
That lives in this room. Oh. Hopefully it comes on quick.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Wow. Thank you, Peter.
Okay. Again, I'm Justin. This is Jake. I guess I'll start to lead it and Jake will add commentary to it. So the piece of property, or the pieces, the three lots that we're talking about are 48 Barney's Joy Road, 255 Jordan Road, and 257 Jordan Road.
Add commentary, 255 Jordan Road is not historical, so that probably is not part of this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But it is part of the master idea.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the property map, if you guys can look to see where this is. So you've got the 255, which might not be relevant, and then you have the 257, which is where my,
Here, I'll go up here and kind of
okay,
walk through this. This is Jordan Road here, and 257 Jordan Road is this 40-foot road or lane here that comes up, and there are 1, 2 structures on 257. It's a house that was built sometime in the late 1800s with a garage and some dwelling in the garage. It's really hard to tell because it's so dilapidated. And 48 Barney's Joy Road comes off of Barney's Joy Road, and it's a 40-foot lane into Barney's Joy. This 48 Barney's Joy is an old, and again, the date, but it's in the early 1900s, maybe. It was a horse stable. I think in there we can find some reminiscences of some photos that might have been thoroughbred-looking horses. And it had living quarters in it also. It's also extremely dilapidated. We'll
Yeah, see the
we'll show
photos,
you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And we took some videos today.
so here's another view of the property map, so you can just see it more on an aerial photo. Why did we purchase this property? Jake and I purchased the property as a family legacy property for our immediate family, and the Barney's Joy property, partnership property, which is south of this current property. The Barney's Joy partnership property has been in our family since the 1930s. The goal for this property is to be a legacy for our immediate family, starting today and into the future generations. So there's just kind of a general overview of the family's property. Most of it's under blue, if you can see there, is all under permanent conservation easement. Okay, the property's current state of
When you say
neglect.
easement, do you mean it's under CR or restriction?
Yes, so if I just go back here, this
Everything in blue
entire
is-
blue
everything
piece
in
is
blue is-
unbuildable. So this is all under conservation
This is the
easement.
Barney's Joy Farm.
Okay,
You guys-
okay, right.
Some of you might be familiar with it.
Okay.
The yellow are private landowners within Barney's Joy. Those are all uncles, aunts, cousins. My mom's property is actually Kissy right there, and then the property that we just bought is where we put the little house.
With the houses, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Those are the 3 lots we just bought.
okay, that's great, thanks.
Okay, so the current properties that we purchased are under a state of neglect for decades and it's been uninhabitable. The property has no buildings that can be salvaged, which you'll see. The photos and the video will show the state of disrepair. So here's the property border.
Minus the lane from Barney's, but yeah.
Here's an image of the, actually, this is an image of 257 Jordan and 48
Let me
Barney's
talk
Joy
about
Road.
this real quick. If you remember, the 257 had some weird angles. And when they platted this, I don't know how they did it, in the 70s, I think. There's actually a garage right here. You can't see it because it's so overgrown, but we have videos of it. And this garage is on what's considered 48 Barney's Joy Road. And so is this. This is the old horse stable barn. It was a big horseshoe looking. And you can see there's 3 chimneys. Those were where the residences were in the horse stables. And then 257 Jordan Road is currently this property and this house. And you can see the chimneys where the residences were. We can't really tell how many bedrooms are in there. You can't walk in there. It's dangerous. The floors are all caved in. But so this picture is basically 257 and 48 Barneys.
Okay.
Now-
Where in relation to that is 255?
Go back one, let's see. Well, it is right.
This
it's-
way.
It's right here.
Okay, all
Here,
right.
so I can just,
Yeah. 255, 257,
Okay,
48.
okay, great, thanks.
okay, so there's just another view of the same thing that we were looking at. Okay.
According to the map, we are on 48 Barnes Joy Road right now. And this old structure, you can see it's all stone. It looks like it was a carriage garage of some sort. And it went this direction. You can see it kittied then forward. And it's all dilapidated, but the wall is still there. And some of the framing beams. Then you can see the end of it right there. This is structure 1 on the southwestern corner of 48 Barnes Joy Road. According to the map, we are on 48 Barnes Joy Road right now.
What was it?
You were playing the same one.
Oh, got it. Let's see if we can, how we can do this.
Okay. This is still on 48 Barnes Joy Road, and this is the old horse barn. You can see that it was a big, like horseshoe shape. Went down, cornered, went down. Let's walk inside. This is the old barn with the living quarters at 48 Barnes Joy Road. So you can see part of the structures here. Here's the living quarters. There's this wing over here. And living quarters here. A couple of bedrooms. There's one bedroom out there. You can see. That went a ways that way. There's an old bathroom back in there. Fireplace. And so it looks like this barn living quarters was 1, 2, 3 kind of bedrooms. And then also to here. Which is
Get away, get out of the way.
more of a tool shop. But this is where they build L's and goes to the west.
Do you guys have, from your family, historical pictures, photographs of the buildings way back when, or not so much?
No, this was not ever part of our family's.
Right, I just-
It bordered the family.
Board of the family, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Not really. There is a couple of really old photos, not really of the building that we found in there.
horses.
Of more of the horses. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's the one we just saw. Here's another one.
Just continuing where we were right in that corner right there, where the living quarters was. And who knows if this was more living quarters, it looks like it, over here. And perhaps that, hard to tell from this area. And then the barn took this L, and it came all the way back down to that area. The houses behind here are on 257 Jordan Road. They are not on the 48 Barneys.
So there's a total of 3 structures. Actually, more than that with the horse barn, okay, got it, all right,
On 48 Barneys,
yeah,
one, I think there's 4.
4, okay.
So you got the old stone
Stone
barn,
garage,
and
the barn, which is a big
L,
L, there's
and then
3.
then the side one, the side one right here, which was separate.
Yeah.
It may have been connected in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
It looks like it would have been 4, but it could have been 3.
Just. This is the back L. That would be the western side of the barn, the big horseshoe barn. This is the western side of that big L of the barn. And again, the living quarters were over there. And that's the L where it goes then to the east.
Let's see where the living quarters are with.
And you can see the living quarters of the old barn because you can see the chimneys. 1, 2. Let's zoom up on those. 1, 2.
Is that a well there? Did you-
We couldn't find any wells.
Okay.
We don't know where
I did see a well.
the septic
Yeah.
wells were.
There's an old well that was kind of behind these. It actually still had water in it. I mean,
Each property of these two that we're talking about, because we're not talking about 255,
have a well and a septic
yes,
according.
and the Title 5, is that correct? Yeah, Title 5s are both like that. Now we're on the back.
Okay, so this is gonna be a separate property, so this is 257 Jordan Road now.
We are now at the main old house. That is the one in question of being historical, of 257 Jordan Road. And the garage of 257 Jordan Road that we just saw is right here. You can see the garage connects to the house. Then this is the house. One room in here we can kind of look into. We'll go inside though.
No,
But
don't do
let
it.
me take a back up look of this.
Probably shouldn't
This
have.
is the
Everything
house.
turned out fine though.
Of 257 Jordan Road.
No.
Oh, we didn't go in. You didn't go in because we're just about over.
I'm going in the house of 257 Jordan Road. It's quite dangerous. You can see that there's all kinds of missing floorboards. Got to make sure that I step in the right spots. You can see that the floor is falling through here and there's full of trash. I'm going to step it on this plank so I don't fall down to the basement. I can see the basement down in there. And this looks like the living room. There's a fireplace back there, maybe a bathroom. And I don't think I dare go over there. There's no way that I can get over there. It's all concaved, falling in. You can see holes, you can see daylight through the chimney, daylight there.
It's like a drama.
Absolutely.
It's like a horror
treacherous
movie.
to work.
What's
Not
gonna
gonna
happen?
do it. Safety hazard. Probably not healthy. There's just no way you can walk over there. The floor is falling through. I'm going in the house of 250.
All right, here's a third
Now we're coming around the same side
video of the same house.
of this 257 Jordan Road house. This is the original house
Pretty house.
that was left to dilapidate, I don't know, 50 years ago, maybe more. And then part of the house, and then to the garage of 257 Jordan.
So 50 years was the
Now we're
last
coming around the
time
same.
there was occupancy?
guess, I have no idea.
Pure guess.
Years ago, I don't know.
Had a satellite on it.
It is sad, but
I didn't know it had a satellite dish on it.
Yeah, that's true. When you go back, there was a satellite dish on, so somebody must have been there in the last, what, 20 years? 30 years, maybe? I don't know how far they were.
yeah,
They
right.
were there and they
Well-
were there at least 30 years ago.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the property that is not in historic is 255. The old man and the old lady priest lived there until they both passed away within a month of each other, which was,
Built in 66.
it was built in the 60s, and they passed away a couple years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, maybe. And their son, who's now in jail, lived on the property as well. So that could have been his satellite, maybe.
And he was a priest?
No,
Priest
priest
is
was
the
the
last
last
name.
name.
Pardon me, I'm
Could have been a
sorry.
priest. I don't think
This
so. I
gets
would venture to
weirder
say
and
no,
weirder. Okay,
but
yeah,
And
sorry.
you don't have, I mean, the priests have been there since the 40s.
That's
And
right.
there is no history on what they did with the farm. In other words, yeah, I mean, they were boarding or training or doing something with horses, but other than that,
Horse people was the great-grandfather priest. And it was a lady, I just got this kind of history. It was a lady that the great-grandfather, the old priest worked for her as the horse trainer. And he somehow ended up with the farm. But there was a lady who owned the horses and was the horse person, was a woman back in the day. I mean, we're talking more than 100 years ago.
maybe 1800s, late 1800s, who knows, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and then, so the priest, the husband and wife who passed away, who were in their 80s, they weren't horse people, or not that we know of. But we don't have all the history with
And
them.
when we met with planning today, because the lots are very weird, right? I mean, you can see one's like a lane with a jigsaw line. And I'm guessing that when they platted those, our research showed that they did it in the 70s, when they replatted them. That they must have done it to where the building edges were. Or maybe, we don't know why they platted them like that. So the planning and building department that we met with earlier today basically said none of these lots are conforming to today's zoning. But, so if you're gonna rebuild, you have to rebuild in the same footprints. Is what they think,
Okay.
to be grandfathered in. I mean, and our goal is, our end-all be-all goal is to build kind of a compound for our family today and into our next two or foreseeable generations. So that's our goal. They did not recommend that we tried to merge everything together because that would redo it all and then you would build one house. And, our families are bigger than one house.
It's interesting, so did they give you an indication of how many residences you could build based on what's there now?
I think they said it would have to be to the history, right?
Yeah, so 3 residences, potentially a special use permit for a barn that wouldn't be a residence. And then each resident can have up to 1,000 square foot ADU unit. And then other things that we'd be planning on building, which we'll get into this show and just into this, the presentation a little bit, would be other things like pool, maybe a racket sport court, things like that, which would then have to be applied for under a special use permit or application. We do have one more video if you guys want to see one more.
Sure.
And what we thought was a garage, or is a garage on the front side, is actually also living quarters. See the chimney? Bedroom. And there's a bedroom.
So when the first video of 257 Jordan, we were in the garage in the front, while in the back, there was living quarters in the back with that chimney that we're at right now.
As you can see, there's a bedroom in here and different rooms within there. We can't tell what, but.
and with all those horses, there was never any, or you hadn't seen any evidence of a blacksmith shop on the property? Or what could conceivably have been a blacksmith shop?
We have no idea.
I don't think so.
Even in the, I guess in those barns, they could
Well,
have shoed horses.
Well, but you'd need a chimney to have a forge
Oh.
to make the shoes or have the shoes
That's a
fit.
good point. All the places I saw had fireplaces.
Mm-hmm.
When I kind of peered in there, I saw a few fireplaces. Like in the horse stable, there's a fireplace that looked like.
Seemed like where the chimneys were close to bedrooms, close to like living rooms with closets and things like that.
Okay.
Okay, so the plan, is, as we stated earlier, is to designate a legacy for our future. Today's objective, you know, at this stage, and some of this is kind of not really relevant for the Historical Society, but is to clear the property of debris. We've now found out today that we really shouldn't be clearing the buildings so that we don't eliminate, like, we don't run into that clock of like, okay, you gotta build in 2 years or whatever it is from it. So, but anyways, clearing a lot of the debris and stuff, to create what would be our legacy property of sorts, you know, gathering house, pool house, racket court, sauna, and just et cetera, examples, homes, barn, smaller units. So that's where the property sits. Again, that's a photo that I showed you guys earlier of how the whole property, all three properties together lay. So here's just purely, we're in the very early stages of schematics, but it would be, you know, a barn, a pool, racket court, little homes, more, these are the ADU units. And then maybe the barn would actually, and again, we don't know, we have the ability to build 3 dwellings, so maybe the barn would be a combo, and then another house, another house. So kind of still, you know, aligned to an extent of what is permitted per the 3 lots that we have. There's just another snapshot of it. And then from a perspective of, you know, again, just thought processes, but we really like kind of the more modern rustic look. So just more, and again, these are just, you know, from Pinterest, right? So there's no actual designs here, but gathering center, where the gathering center would be where everybody would come to, right? Like my family and his family would all come together to have more of a gathering zone area where it would be next to the pool, et cetera. So just literally just ideas and thought processes, just kind of put a theme together on it. That'd be more like a mini house, right? An ADU unit. Again, another sample of some mini units. You know, the play zone. Barns, samples of barns. Again, just processes. That's it.
That's it, okay.
Yeah. So obviously, the reason why we're here is, there's nothing really historic, I mean, it's historic, but there's nothing salvageable on those buildings at this stage. I think somebody, my sister-in-law was at the house, somebody walked it, on Sunday from the Historical Society.
Not I. Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, you did great.
Was she on a bike pedaling?
She may have, she
She
just,
has an electric bike. I showed her my ID I have an ID for historic that I had made in
oh,
2014.
yeah. She just said that somebody was there, that's all.
And I couldn't find a way in, and I went over to Bonnie Joy, and it was all private property, and I didn't want to drive down the road and have the police escort me off.
Oh,
the
so you didn't
property.
even get to take a look at it?
No.
Okay, well, if you want to go back, you absolutely have permission from the owners, which is Jake and I. Here's Jordan Road right here, okay? And this lane, if you can look, actually, my mouse isn't showing up, but this lane right here is an old lane. It comes right up here, and you can get back to everything from there, from that
Just
lane.
if you go to one of your first photos of just the aerial photos, you might see it.
So
Would that
we'll-
would that be an open invite for the whole, anybody on the Historic
Sure,
Commission?
absolutely.
You guys,
Take a
careful.
look. Maybe we'll just, we'll give you our cell phone numbers. Just send us a text. Let us know that you guys are coming. We won't be there, but my mother lives right next door and others. Okay, so Jake, what do you want to look at this one right here maybe?
oh, that lane from the road is right here. You can see, there's two stone walls. There's a stone wall here and a stone wall here, and it's like an old lane in, and it comes in, and then you can access back into here.
And that's not gonna continue on as a right-of-way.
There is no right-of-way in that lane. No, the lane, the right-of-way
Is from Barney's Joy.
from Barney's Joy ends,
From Barney's Joy all the way across to Jordan Road, right?
Yeah, that's that easement's just closed. There's no.
Okay.
Yeah.
so the only right-of-way is for us, like, so the Priest family that we purchased this from, and it was a probate sale. They had sold, actually, they sold this property in the 60s. In the 50s to my grandmother, and my grandmother then sold it for like $1 or whatever to the Whitneys, who now own it. Okay, they also sold this property and this property.
And these two.
And this one too, but they sold those two with an easement, so we own the lane, and those homes have an easement to access their properties. Now, their easement ends right there.
Yeah.
So that's how that works.
And then this.
And then,
And then this road,
yep,
which there's a stone wall on the blue line here and a stone wall on the blue line there, goes up, and it ends right here at the house. But this is an easement only to this property.
which happens to be my mother's.
Okay, because I recognize it only because the kids used to ride their bikes from Jordan Road to Barney's Joy, and they used that
Ah,
easement.
they're trespassing.
Yeah.
So
But
the
nobody
easement-
ever said anything, so.
No, we don't.
Yeah, no, we don't know. We do know that the easement, that there's no easement that exists. We've spent plenty of lawyer money kind of finalizing and getting that dialed. Or not even change anything, just understanding what the easements were.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And so the easements were only ever for abutting neighbors, and those have since been dissolved?
Correct.
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, exactly, except for this easement's still,
It's for the
it's
neighbors.
existing for the neighbors. It's still there, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the objective here. I mean, again, we're here because we don't think anything is salvageable from a historical perspective.
Okay.
And then we're wanting to get moving on the big project that's gonna take a long time, but
Will you be keeping the stone walls and the landscape features?
100%, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna move all the trash trees out, restore all the stone walls, expose all the stone walls. They're
Yeah, a lot of them
mostly
need to be
exposed.
exposed, or just like completely grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stones are beautiful.
I would love to see it if you could.
You guys
Yeah.
can have at it, yeah.
And we-
And I mean, if anyone's, we'll be around tomorrow and Wednesday until like noon, if anyone
Can
wants
we
to
have
go.
your phone numbers?
Yeah, I'll give you mine.
I'll write them both down right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need them on public TV, probably. but-
Okay, we're being recorded right now,
Is it the
okay.
same number that you gave on the application? It's a 970?
That's
Oh,
mine,
that's
that's
yours.
probably mine.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, then we have
It's
that.
it's in the portal on the application.
Okay. And did the town, did Randy and the building department give you an indication of what part of the foundation, generally speaking, has to be saved?
Yes.
Kane?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So Randy,
He wants a site visit.
yep, he's gonna do a site visit. However, Randy, like, when we were here with the P and Z, Randy happened to have a little free 30 minutes, and he came up, so we weren't even scheduled with him. A lady who actually helped you guys out, I can't recall her name,
Michelle?
Michelle,
Yeah.
went down, was like, hey, a couple guys you might be interested in chatting with. So he came up, and then we're gonna schedule a meeting with him.
Fantastic.
Site
Okay,
visit. But from that perspective, what our understanding is, and again, just like not knowing exactly how the planning and zoning work and the building inspection.
Thank you.
But if you take 255, which is this one, that's 1.28 acres. And so it does not conform, and it only has 183 feet from here to here, so it doesn't conform on the 200 feet. So it is grandfathered, so nothing, that building has to stay on the same foundation, which frankly is almost perfect. Like the way it sits, it's just perfect for the barn, right? And then this one, right here, doesn't conform either. It's only 8.83 acres. Now, that building, the old building, is actually significantly larger than we'd be planning to build, when you add all, the foundational structures to it.
The garage.
Yeah, everything. It's just, it's actually pretty sizable. And then the barn, okay, that has the barn living quarters in it as well. That thing is non-conforming with the 250 feet that you need if it's, but it's 2.83 acres. So it's large enough so it does conform, and what Randy's stated without like signing anything, right, just verbally, was like, we would be able to move foundational structures on that if we wanted to. We don't even know if we would want to. Like, there might be some stuff that's really perfect there, but we would be able to adjust the structures on that one because it's over 2 acres.
Okay. So the vibe you got from them was that, in most cases, if you retain the original foundation footprint, maybe in footprint and also in original materials, you build on top of that, that's the plan.
What he said is that he said, he didn't say same foundation.
Okay,
He said the
Same footprint.
footprint, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Same foundations are, I don't know if they're salvageable. But,
They may not be, right? Some might, some of them might not be.
yeah. But they mentioned the same
But,
footprint.
but we were also planning to have a demolition group come in and clear, it so we had a clean slate. And he said, but if you do that, then you start that clock, and if you don't have something built, they may merge them together. Now you only have the ability for one structure plus an ADU unit. So at current state, we have the ability for 3 housing structures. Like, so for an example, we know that the small house there on 255 has 4 bedrooms. So we do 4 bedrooms,
Okay,
right? So, and again, we're just learning. This is all stuff we learned today.
sure, understand. So you've got a demolition permit in front of the commission, right?
No, we don't have a permit yet.
No, but you've got an application in front of the commission.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nathan Gomes.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what, that kind of threw me a little bit,
Yeah.
okay?
So our contractor is Nathan Gomes, who's prepared to do all the demo and clearing work. But again, after today's meeting, we don't want to do any demo
Right.
until we can say, like, okay, that's the footprint. Because once you demo, who knows what was there, right?
Right,
So
But-
because all these projects are almost like on a grandfather state versus a zone code state.
yeah, existing non-conforming.
Yes.
But you're gonna get some more input from,
Randy.
Randy tomorrow,
Yep.
perhaps?
Well, or next time he's available, and we'll meet up with him.
Sure.
We'll come back out and meet up with him. But the idea here is like, he may say, okay, let's map out where the structure is here. And now you can rip it down because it's unsafe.
Okay,
Because it's, right at this stage is like, it's a danger zone in there right now.
okay. So you're just looking to demolish at this point, and the extent to which you demolish thoroughly is kind of determined by the site visit with Randy and.
Yep.
That's, okay.
Yep.
And not to demolish until we know that we can, claim that that's a non-conforming rebuildable spot, footprint, I guess.
Well, we always kind of err on the side of liking extending the use of existing foundations if it's possible to do, right? If you find that that is the case, that when you're demolishing, that the structure is, that the foundation itself is strong and reusable, as long as you're keeping the same footprint anyway, that's something that we as a group always like to see. But I understand it's sort of TBD at this point, right?
It is. We really don't know if it's, if you could put another structure and have that thing last for another 100 years on it yet at this stage.
Okay, any questions from the commission?
I'd like to go take a look. I did walk down there this winter, because was it one of you who called me and spoke? Somebody called me this winter and said that.
We bought the property, I think we closed on the property in February 14th, February.
And then Nathan Gomes would then maybe who contacted you, the contractor?
Okay.
He's the excavation guy, yeah.
Yeah, he was here last time.
He came here, yes. And he was the one that said, hey, we need to meet with the historical, so you can't just go and tear stuff down. We're like, okay, let's do that.
Okay, great. I really appreciate the thorough presentation and what you're trying to get done.
Yeah, it was helpful to have all those interior pictures and angles and stuff. It was really helpful, but
Great.
What's next steps as far as understanding, and I think I understand that the historical commission is obviously separate from building permit and planning. And if we get the green light to like tear it down so we can start the projects, there needs to be like a check of a box from the historical saying, yep, guys, go ahead.
That's exactly, it's just a workflow thing, and so you're coming here is sort of check that box, and the workflow moves on to the demolition permit that is their purview, and they'll take care of that. So that's the way it is. Any other questions from the group? Yeah.
When you start the demo, are you gonna demo everything on site, or are you gonna have a lot of trucks transporting the demos, all that?
Well, we have to transport all the demo stuff out because you can't burn it.
Right,
Yeah, so we have to move it. I think they quoted us 30 of the largest dumpsters that are there, 30 full dumpsters.
You're gonna keep them busy
Yeah, that's
for a while.
And another secondary to your question is, because we don't want to jeopardize, like the grandfathered clause, we may work on, and this is just an example, we may work on 48 Barney's Joy Road first, and then
Do what we can do there.
do there, and then move over to the next one, so we don't run up against some clock. Unless we get some type of an allowance and, checkpoint from you guys that says, okay, everything's really dangerous, go ahead and knock it down, and we have plotted out, where the existing structures are. So when you do go in the future, it's like rubber stamp per se. So,
Well,
and
we'd
I don't
like-
even know how that works, but something along those lines.
but this isn't, this doesn't have to go before the town meeting, is it, because of the volume of,
No,
it doesn't have anything to do?
no, it can be
So-
approved by the department.
So we'll just have to just pass them, I'll read the motion.
Right, so what's gonna happen is we're gonna take a vote on the HDPR 25-7 to approve that. The next stop is working with the building department on the demolition permit. Okay?
Yep.
So, can I get a motion on HDPR 25-7 on approving it, the demolition of these properties at 257 Barney's Joy Road, 48 Barney's Joy Road and 257 Jordan Road.
There's 3 sites, so,
One of them is not historic, so we don't have to really
Okay.
deal with that.
okay.
But just as a note, 257 does have a DAR number.
yeah, I did put all that in the minutes last.
Okay, so I
Last
didn't look at the
meeting.
minutes, so.
Okay, that's why I asked you if you'd seen
Yeah,
the minutes, but you were
okay.
looking at the other ones, so I did do that. Right. Is that the one?
This does not have the DER number on there.
Because I know I said it for all the buildings that we had last time. I did,
Oh, okay.
I know I,
This one for Horse Neck, you said, Christina, there's a
yeah,
Form B
I
on
know,
that, but that's
I
not.
thought that I'd done it for, I thought I'd said it for both.
Okay.
In any case, yes, there is a DA.
Is that
You can say it again.
for the
if-
record?
1433,
1433 is the DAR number for, sorry, is it for the Barney's Joy Road?
for 257.
57, okay. Jordan Road. Okay, can I get a nomination, or a motion now to approve this application?
Do you have the script?
No, but I can wing it. So I make a motion to approve the demolition permit for 257 Jordan Road and 48 Barney's Joy Road, contingent on what they find with the building department, correct?
Well, our part is not contingent upon that.
So-
Yeah. However, yeah, it's just those 2 sites, and it's HTPR 25-7.
Right, HDR 20,
Did you have another question, Phil?
They'll make a point that 48 Barney Joy is gonna be first on their list of demoing.
They don't know.
Not
that.
necessarily.
I
Yeah.
think they said that was a
It was an
maybe.
example.
Yeah.
Okay,
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
all right.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you coming in and talking
Great.
us through this.
Thank you, guys.
And I wish you luck.
Yeah,
with it.
and anybody, and you guys that want to come,
We
just
do.
head
So I'll
over
pass
there.
this around and the phone numbers, and we'll text you. And, you know, for me, you said Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning works out pretty well if it's.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you're around
yeah,
then.
absolutely.
Okay.
We're around Wednesday
Okay.
morning.
Our
Yeah.
flight's at 4.
So is there, we're gonna go out there Wednesday morning?
Well, I don't suggest we do it as a group, though we could, but it might be hard to arrange all that kind of stuff. I'm out of town on Tuesday and Thursday, but Wednesday works out well for me, so that's good. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you
both.
guys.
Greg, you
That's
probably
a tough
been
act to
very
follow.
short.
Wow.
I'm sorry that you were put second on this, but it's interesting to hear what you've got in mind. It's terrific. So, how many years do you expect this to take, from soup to nuts?
We're usually pretty fast acting.
Okay.
However, years? Yeah, definitely 3 years. Probably more than 2 or whatever
Okay,
permitting or whatever.
okay. And just personally, do you intend to live there 10 years from now, or what do you intend to move in, I guess I would say?
It's never gonna be we'll build it for permanent winter residences, but it's gonna be more of a place to come, during this time, through, say, October.
Great, got it, okay. Sorry to give you the false start, Greg.
Good evening, Greg Jones, architect for the Coves, Allison and Adam Cove. They bought this house, and I always forget the number,
280?
449 Elm Street.
Oh, right, gotcha, okay.
A big Greek revival house that had seen some work done on it probably 10 years ago, where they put in some vinyl windows and some vinyl shutters. Well, the new owners want to replace all the windows with some that are a little more historically accurate. So what we're looking at, and this is going to be a two-phase project. The first phase is replacing a bunch of windows in the portion of the house right on Elm Street. And they'd like to replace them. They haven't decided if they're going to be Pella or Marvin's, but they would be clad windows with permanently adhered buttons on the interior, exterior, with a spacer bar in between. The windows that had been put in, the vinyl windows that had been put in previously were not full-frame windows. They were sort of replacement windows, so it narrowed up the openings, and they have the buttons between the glass, and they look cheesy. So the new windows will be full-frame windows to take up the entire existing opening. The exterior trim and moldings will be either repaired to match what's there, and if it's in decent shape, they won't touch them at all. So hopefully, the look will be much as it was, 70, 80, 100 years ago. So the window, and I guess the only big change in windows is this gable end window. When the previous owners had done the renovation with these windows, they put this sort of half-round window on top of the two double-hung windows in the attic, which really doesn't work with this property. So I've come up with a little different window that's a little more friendly to the Greek revival style of the house. I think it works better than the semicircular thing. No shutters, they've opted not to do shutters. They may decide to come back and do shutters after the thing is done to see if they think it needs it. But in meeting with them, we felt it could stand alone without shutters, so at this point, we won't be proposing shutters. But I'll be back to you probably in 6 months, because they want to do a bunch of work on the back of the house. But Mrs. Cove is due with the baby, I think, in August, so they want to try and get a bunch of the windows done now, so she can have a place to crash with the new baby when they're tearing apart the back of the house. And I think that's it. This piece of it's pretty straightforward.
The shutters on the front door, they're gonna keep them?
Those are going to stay. Those
Oh, good.
actually were one of the few things that, they're wood, they're not vinyl, and
Yep.
they actually do operate. So those ones will stay.
That's great.
It's just the vinyl ones that are too small and set outside the trim that don't really work, so,
They don't even look vaguely functional.
no, not at all.
Now, this was done, the windows were done 15 years ago?
Probably 12, 15 years ago.
And they went to historical back then?
I don't know. There was a previous owner. I don't know if they came to historic back when that was done. It's one of these houses I remember driving by back then thinking, oh, God, that window just doesn't work in the attic. So when I met these folks, they gave me the tour of the house and we get up to the attic and I sort of grimaced at the window. And the homeowner is awesome. He said, yeah, that's got to go, before I said anything. So they get it, they understand historic homes and they want to do it right.
I don't even know if the window shutters are, part of a Greek revival heritage. I don't.
I went through a bunch of pictures before I came up with the new window for the attic, and some do, some don't.
All right. Farrah, any questions? Okay.
Make a motion then,
Yeah, please.
that we approve HDPR 25-12 for 449 Elm Street. For the replacement of the windows and the work proposed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye, approved.
Thank you once again, folks.
Great, thank you very much.
Have a good night.
This 280 Elm Street is just a mistake from Michelle. Is that on there?
That's the contractor's,
Yeah, the contractor's
address or something like that.
Who is the contractor, Greg, you know?
It's Howard.
It's Howland.
Howland.
Howland, okay, got it, yes.
280 in the
Yeah.
middle
Okay, I thought, that's right by my house. Thank you for coming in, Greg, good to see you.
Thank you.
Are you around later this week, Greg?
Yeah.
I just want to give you a quick call, but something
Yeah.
related to this, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. Appreciate that. So next on the agenda, a couple of things I just wanted to mention. One is I was going to talk to Greg this week about, but I was meeting, it reflects on the new members here. I met with Christian Atwood, who was asked to join the board, the commission. And he's a nice guy. He bought the house that was formerly owned by the, right on Smith Neck Road, big food company, Sid Weiner.
Oh, Duval's? You're talking
No,
about?
Sid Weiner's
Smith
house.
Neck,
Sid Weiner's.
oh,
Sid Weiner's house on Smith Neck Road. So it's the really big one right next to the really big one that they built on Smith Neck Road. So it's, I don't know the address, but it's one from the corner from, anyway, it's two from the corner where you make the suicide curve
Yep.
there. So anyway, they've got a house in Wellesley now, and they plan to be down here as much as possible. Then in hopefully the next handful of years, he said to move down here, but he would be amenable to being down here on Monday nights for meetings and such. And he seemed like a good guy. They said that they redid their house in Wellesley along the lines of brought it back to the way it had been when it was built in the 1870s, and so he was very proud of that. And he said that the builder actually won an award for it, which is something that I thought we should talk about, is having some kind of an award system in town for people who really do projects that spend the money to bring things back into a condition that's acceptable to what we think is good to the town and the way the town was. So I did write to the manager of the Historical Commission in Wellesley, and I haven't heard back yet, just asking for some details about that. And I wanted to ask Greg if he knew of something like that, but I just wanted to float that as a possible idea, that we have some kind of an award that we hand out to people who do things right, whether it's the homeowners or the builders or the architects, not really sure, but just table that for some discussion or to think about.
It's good to encourage
what's
things.
this
more carrots.
person's name again?
Christian Atwood, Atwood.
and he didn't want to attend a meeting?
I actually invited him to, he couldn't attend this meeting. And I did advise I hooked him up with Michelle to get his letter to the select board, and he said he'd be willing to stand in front of them and, talk about himself and why he desires to do this.
Is he a Dartmouth resident?
He is, well, he owns the house. I'm not sure what that, I don't know what the rule
Doesn't
is.
do it, though.
Okay.
He's gotta be
So try.
he's got a resident of Dartmouth.
Yeah, and that's the
Okay.
reason why Linda DeRoche couldn't be on the commission when she lived in Florida. because she had a house in Dartmouth, but she was a Florida resident.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that she desired to do that from
You have to
afar.
be-
Same
but,
for me, I bought the house here in 2013, but I couldn't join until later.
Because you don't live here for a while.
Because I was still a Maine resident,
Oh, okay.
even though I own
We
property.
can,
Well,
yeah,
So I hope he is.
yeah, I don't know what that means in terms of, number of days or of the year or what the rule is. So if he's cannot have another house someplace else that he lives in, then maybe that he can't.
he's gotta be a resident of Dartmouth. That's the rule.
Right, but how many days out of the year? If he resides in Dartmouth for
Well,
5
where
months?
does he
But he's
vote?
voting, if he's voting in
Oh, voting.
Dartmouth,
So that's the rule I was looking for. It's voting, okay.
I believe so.
Okay, so that would be a non-starter then. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Well, he still will eventually, right?
I do, but I don't know the time frame for that. I don't know if any of us will be on the board when that comes. It might be a handful of years. His wife is a vet who's looking for work down here, veterinarian.
Yep.
But anyway, he's kind of a youngish guy, around 50 or so. I say that's young.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, I tell you what, I'll put that question to him and see what that is, and it sounds like it's maybe a determining factor is, and I can ask the town clerk about this, is where you vote. And if you don't vote here, then maybe he can't, maybe he can, I don't know, advise in some other way, but maybe that's not a non-starter. So I will ask about that. And then, Chris, you had mentioned that you had a couple folks who were potentially interested.
Yeah, the guy from Country Squire Upholstery out on Beeden Road.
Okay.
I had gone to see about upholstering a chair. Actually costs more to reupholster a chair than it does to buy a new one in some cases, but, yeah, he's from Rehoboth in the past. He lives in Dartmouth now. He is a resident. But he had restored an old house in Rehoboth and is interested in historic homes and things. And so he was interested, and his friend Jen also was interested, and she had also lived in Rehoboth, I believe.
What was the gentleman's name? If you get to me, I
Dan?
reach out to him and just,
Okay,
Just-
I did tell him what the process was.
okay.
Give me a second and I'll find it.
You have to put a letter together and then submit it to
Right, I
the
did-
select
I
board,
told
and then
him
they
that.
review it.
That's right.
Is it different now?
No, that's really what it is. You put together a letter and,
Dan?
Dan?
Sorry, Dan Cardoza.
Dan Cardoza, that sounds familiar. And then, and Michelle can help him with an example of a letter, just a little expressing my interest. And then you usually get onto the roster for a select board meeting, and then you stand up there and you just talk about who you are and why you want to do this, what your interest is. So that's, as far as I know, that's the whole process. And so,
Yeah, I think that's what I
and
mentioned.
it was his friend Jen. If you think of it, if you can send me a contact for Dan, I'll just reach out there.
And it wouldn't be a bad idea to make the suggestion that they either attend a meeting or view a prior meeting on
I
YouTube.
did suggest both of those
Yeah,
things, and
that
he
was
said he would love to.
Are you putting 3 more people on the board, so one of us has got to leave then, right?
No, what I'm doing, I don't have any kind of certainty around this yet, and it sounds like maybe one of them is shot down. So, no, what I would like to do is staff it to 7 people, if it's acceptable to everybody. I think that's the right thing to do, and it also helps us if people can't make it, and we get a quorum, which is really
Right.
useful. And so that's the only intention, is to get up to our 7. If that works out well, not to push anybody anywhere at all, that's not the idea whatsoever. So if we can get 2 folks on, that's great, you know?
Because I had a big fight with someone, well, because I went to a trade school and they didn't have computer or whatever, and the only computer thing, I'm handicapped because I'm not a computer person, so I'm struggling, basically.
Okay.
And it's worrisome, because I look at a lot of the computers that Best Buy don't have Wi-Fi, but they're cheap. So if they don't have Wi-Fi, you gotta have Wi-Fi. So anyway, but
Maybe we
then,
could talk right after the meeting.
Okay.
Because I'd be happy to sit down with you or help you out some way, or we could talk through.
Okay.
that, because I want to make you feel good about what you're doing here, so, and I
no,
appreciate it.
I don't feel that I'm contributing enough to everybody because of my handicap.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, understand. That's the only business I had. Anybody else, any other business?
And did we not have application for a historical plaque? Thought there were two.
There were
that
two
was
from
not-
last meeting.
Yeah.
What's
Oh,
that?
so those went
Linda,
through?
Yeah.
Linda called me and told me she couldn't make it to the meeting tonight because she had done some other volunteer work or something, and
Oh, I didn't even know it was part of this meeting tonight, so I apologize. I just didn't see it on the agenda. So she was going to propose something on behalf of somebody else? Is that right?
there was some plaque.
She had done the application for the cemetery up at Hicksville.
Okay.
Danforth Hathaway, I think is the name of
Wasn't
the,
that Red's
Red
cemetery?
Yeah,
Yenna's.
that
Right,
approved
Hannah?
last week.
That got approved
And
last
also,
month,
I think it was Old Westport Road.
101,
Yeah.
Those
And-
were the meeting.
okay. And who was reviewing the documentation? Anybody? Or did you just pass it through? Did
We just
anybody-
passed it through. I did not review personally any documentation on that. Probably my bad. I didn't know what was incumbent upon me to do. So
Well, Linda came up and gave a whole presentation of what it looked like and where. it
that's
was
for
gonna
101
go.
Westport. For the one in Hicksville?
That was.
Oh, that's the one,
That was
okay.
And
Linda's,
the other one was
101.
just on the house. The 101 was just the house.
Yeah,
So
but,
the verification was knowing the age of the house and
but we're
such.
going by the towns, what the town has on the Form B.
I did not verify it by looking at Macris. And I believe that this application for 101 Old Westport Road came in quite late. And so, I mean, not trying to make an excuse for myself, but I didn't do that. So I guess that's something that we should
Did it
do.
have it on the date, on the
I don't have the application.
notes?
No, it doesn't have the date on the notes. No. So that's something that I should
Generally,
do.
generally, and I'm just going by what I've been told by former members of the commission, that in some cases, somebody needs to go down to the registry and review do some of the deed research.
Okay, so go to Bristol County Registry of Deeds. So we can't, okay, so this is, I guess we'd look first on Macris and see if it's on Macris, but it probably is not.
It is, but, I mean, all it says is that they say that it's a Cummings house.
Okay, so I guess my thought is that, so that we don't burden anybody, is that we make the homeowner go to the registry and bring in a photocopied notion of what it says in the deeds. I don't really want to do that for everybody's,
Well, we don't get the application for historical plaques very often,
okay?
so,
Yeah, so nobody knew that there was even a process, I don't
There
think.
is, there's an application in the
I
file.
know there's an application.
But the application for
then-
verification of the date of the house,
Right,
we're
we didn't
talking
know we were
about.
supposed to have.
All right, so I could go down to the registry and deeds if I get a letter to go in there
You don't need a
you
letter.
don't need
Anybody
a
can go
letter.
in there.
You have to do the research,
for
though.
research.
You have to,
Because-
what they will give you the book for where it is now.
Right.
And then you've got to see, it'll say, see this book, and you keep on going back in time. It might take you 7 books to get
So how
back
far
to,
back do you have to go for,
well, back until there's no more reference that says, see previous book. It'll be an initial application, is my understanding. That's when I've done my very small amount of work there. So if you, I guess,
You could go to the tax collectors, I mean, not the tax collector, the assessors. They can give you a property printout, and I
That's it, yeah.
think the deed, I think it's on there.
It
The
doesn't,
first couple.
sometimes it doesn't go back far enough. Sometimes you have to ask for the
Yeah.
old chain of title cards, but even sometimes that doesn't go back far enough. Like I went and looked at them today, and it only goes back to, for 101, it only goes back to 1912.
so if I take my list,
I think your point is a good one, because that's the starting point, that's the book you've got to
Starting
start with, which is, I
Yeah.
think what you're trying to say. So if you start with that book,
Yeah,
then
and
you can
then
look
you
at the
work
references
backwards,
taking you
yeah.
back in time, and back to 1912 was the earliest you found it. You looked at this one today?
On the chain of title cards. So there, and we know that, well, according to the town, that house was built in 1790. So there are quite a few books that you have to go back to.
All right, so I'll come next week, next month we'll have a meeting, and I'll go down to the registry of deed, and I got a list of all the historic houses in Dartmouth. I will go down there and make up a book with, the factual history.
You'll be in there for months.
Yeah,
That's
that-
all
that'd
right.
be a-
That's what
Then
you're
I'll-
gonna do.
And then I'll volunteer and do 10 houses and put it in an album or something, and that would be a starting point to have a library that would, I'll just.
That is a multi-year project,
that's all right.
probably, but,
Then maybe somebody will give me a computer or something, they'll feel sorry for me.
okay, well, we could talk about a system of sorts, but meantime, I guess if you could take a look at 101 Old Westport Road, I'd be grateful if you want to go back further than Sue was able to go, if there are title cards someplace, or you can get some help from,
What
there's a
was
woman
that
at the desk
address?
who's very helpful.
101?
101 Old Westport Road.
Even if you go on the computer only goes back so far too.
Right.
So you'd physically
get
have
into
to
the
go in
book.
there.
Yeah.
Now, there's a man who lives diagonally from me who's got he owns that house that's at the bottom of Elm Street that was once a mill. I saw the folder that he had with all the pictures, and it did show something from 1800s, that he was given this package when he bought the property of that house that's way down at the end of that road where all the rocks were, in that mill that's by the bridge near Arrowhead Road. So I'm trying to get him to give me the folder so I can make a copy of it to put it in our file. But he got that folder when he bought the house. So basically,
It's pretty nice.
who would give away historic pictures in a folder to someone who just bought a house?
It may have been documentation from Louise Strongman when she owned the property.
Oh, okay, so, thank you. But anyway, do you want me to get a copy of that folder with all the pictures and stuff in it? It's got all the history of the house in there.
I think there's no reason why not to.
But the house is not historical. It was a reproduction.
Oh, it was, but the mill is,
The mill is different. That's Smalley and Waddy Mill.
but
So
it,
there were two mill owners.
but it did have a photo of the mill next to the old bridge and everything, and it was in sepia.
If
And,
there are photos that are historic and not part of a reproduction thing, I
oh,
would
these
welcome
are
having
actual
them.
photos.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
are-
if there's, as Sue said, if they're not, you know, of a restore, of a building that's built as a reproduction or something, but if it's at the mill, something that's no longer extant, then I would say, yeah, otherwise, maybe not super necessary. But,
All right, so 101 Westport Road,
Old Westport Road, yeah.
and you want the deed for this building?
Well, no, what would be nice to have, just, and now that I'm smarter about this, I think we can address it differently in the future, but if you can trace it back, that property, that parcel, as far back as there's a building on it, and you might get to a dead end. And there is a very nice person who sits at the desk out there who I've asked for help before, and she was able to give me some help about
Well, I
what
made a
things are.
contact with someone from the Registry of Deeds. She works in the court, so she knows she knows everything. I got her name
Great.
somewhere. So,
Great.
okay.
You know where that is, right?
Who?
You know where it is?
Yes, it's downtown on
Yeah.
Pleasant Street behind the library.
Okay, are there any other questions, any other business?
Well, I have
Please.
one additional question. We talked about 211 Horseneck Road at one point, and it wasn't clear to me that anybody ever got to the bottom of it.
This is, what is his name again?
Jim McBratney.
Jim McBratney. So I think that in our email discussions, it was just that he gave us a verbal, I don't know if it was a promise, but three of us were standing there when he said that his plan was to reuse the foundation. It was my take on what he said, when he demolished the rest of the building. And it doesn't look like he did.
No, it doesn't, and I have the letter from the structural engineer that said that the granite foundation was usable.
What would you like to do about that?
sue them.
Well,
We
I
don't have
mean,
that
we
purview
don't
to
ha-
sue him.
No, we don't.
I would be happy to bring it up with him, and just make it part of the record that he said that he would do it, and whether further demolition work made it untenable, I don't know, but I'd be very happy to drive by and talk with him and just ask him what was going through his mind or what changed his mind, and report back.
Unless that had to go through building before he did that. So can you all of a sudden decide to go from granite to poured concrete without taking it to the building department? He has to get the foundation approved through building, right?
It would be in the plans.
Yeah, but the structural engineer and the architect would make, it would be just part of the plans to build. As long as it was a workable foundation, it's approved as part of the whole thing.
But if they then switched from granite to poured concrete, doesn't the building inspector go in and
You'd have to-
inspect the foundation?
You'd have to see, did they ever apply to do it with the granite?
Yeah, we got to, I think, trace it back to see whether he
Yeah.
ever asked to do it that way. So, I guess I would like, do you have, let me take a picture of the letter, because I'd like to, I'll go and have that conversation.
If
Just-
the building department didn't know that he had said he was gonna
Oh.
use that granite, then they wouldn't have known to,
Yeah.
Randy
Question
knew,
how do we know he knew?
because I had a conversation with Randy about it.
Okay, well, that's the only
So what
thing.
happened
Whether
to-
or not he'll acknowledge it at this late date, I don't know.
So what happened to all the granite? Did they use it to?
He said he was gonna use it for a
Did they
garden.
use it on that house that's on,
We don't know. We just don't know. Okay. I'll reach out and
Now,
talk to.
can you,
yeah.
you can actually, I think, look at the plans too.
We can look at the building plans
yeah.
online and see what the, what the foundation looks like. So, I hadn't done that. So that's what I propose to do about that, is to simply have a conversation with him and maybe talk with Randy and say, where along the chain of decisions who made the decision to not do this and why? And I'll find out what I can and let y'all know. It's
That's
worthwhile.
all we can do.
And it could be too, because I believe Randy sometimes will do commercial and somebody else will do, there could have been just a cross connection that, the residential
It could have been, but in any regard, Mr. McBratney would have known about this. So, yeah, at the building department, absolutely. Maybe Jimmy did it, I don't know, but fair enough.
maybe I should do some sleuthing out at Sylvan's Farms and see if there's any granite laying around.
I don't know. Okay. Can we get a motion, if there are no further questions or comments,
None.
can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn. You all have a nice,
All in favor?
aye.
Great.
Did you want to take a photograph?
I did.
Okay.
I already did.
Oh, you already did?
Yeah, I did, thank you.